This is episode 687, and I'm Greg Swanson, and I'm going to be walking you through community, connection, and the warrior spirit today. So today we're going to dive into a topic that really sits at the very heart of our journey, community, connection, and the warrior spirit. Now, as always, I'm here just to share some insights, spark some conversations, and hopefully inspire you on your path to becoming the best version of yourself. So let's just talk about the power of community, because community and connection is often forgotten when it talks about the warrior spirit or the path of the warrior. And so, but really at the heart is the community and the connection. So let's start talking about the community. What really does that mean? We often hear the phrase that it takes a village. And while it may sound cliche, there's a profound truth to this. As warriors, we thrive when we're surrounded by a supportive and uplifting community. Think about the great warriors in history and mythology. They rarely fought alone, whether it's Lord of the Rings, Matrix, any of those great Star Wars. There's always a community in there. There's a community that helps the hero or helps the warrior, and even 300. Any of these, you look at any of these massive, great accomplishments that warriors and heroes have made, there's always a community. And so they had allies, right? They had mentors. They had comrades who had their backs. They knew that they could focus on what's in front of them because there would be others that help focus on what's beside them and behind them. So being a part of a community offers several benefits, right? One is a support system. And we can look at history books to realize this. We can look at movies to realize this. And even some of the great sporting legends all had a community around them. They had friends, they had a coach, they had a mentor, they all had this. So they had a great support system to help them achieve the goal that they wanted to. Then there was shared wisdom, right? If you have a great community, it's going to include most likely a sage or a mentor, and that wisdom can be shared with you. So wisdom is like knowledge and experience equals wisdom. You could have knowledge, but if you don't have the experience, you might not have the wisdom. So the wisdom comes from the personal experience of your community around you. Everybody's experienced something different in their life, and they can share that with you so you don't have to go through the same trials and tribulations, although you probably will, but at least with a shared wisdom, it helps you understand that others have gone through this as well. And then accountability, right? Whether your community involves a coach like myself, or a friend, or a sage, or some wise mentor, you're going to be held accountable, right? If you didn't have a community around you, if you didn't have anybody around you, you could hold yourself accountable for a while, but then you'd start to perhaps make concessions and, I'll do it later today, and I'll do this, and that's not really what I want. And you would start making excuses. Well, with a community, your feet are held to the fire. What you say is what you're going to do, and that community is going to help you move past your excuses and find your reasons. So now that we have community, right, there's people around us, they're supporting us. Let's take a look at deep connections, because within that community, it's essential to foster deep, meaningful connections. And this is what truly nurtures our warrior spirit. It's those friends that can just be with us in the tough times, in the good times. It's those people, those deep connections that don't have to say anything or can say everything, right? We have a community around us, but if we don't have that deep connection, it's not going to be as fulfilling as it is if we have that deep connection. So it's just not about having people around us, right? But having right people who truly understand and resonate with our journey. They resonate, they understand the journey that we're on. Their journey and our journey might be different, but they understand why we are doing what we're doing. They may not completely agree with it because, if it's a career path, but they understand the why, and that deep connection can help. So building deep connection involves authenticity, meaning you have to be authentic before the other person is, right? This is up to you. Seek first to understand before you're understood, so that authenticity is that connection with the other person. And authenticity comes from self-reflection of what's your beliefs, what's your virtues, what's your values, what is important to you in life, and being authentic and being able to express it to foster that deep connection. The other part is actively listening, right? The connection isn't just about you talking about your dreams or complaining about the roadblocks. It's actually being there to support others in your community. And you do that by actively listening, which means you don't come up with an answer while the person is still talking. You don't take what they said and make it about you. You don't discount what they said. Active listening is listening and showing signs that you are listening and understanding what the communication is. And then there's that mutual respect. Respect is very important when we talk about deep connections. And when you can have the mutual respect, meaning you respect the individual respects you, that was real, a big, deep connection can be formed. And so now you have your community, you pick out a few people, perhaps 3, 4, you develop this deep connection with them. Now let's move on to nurturing the warrior spirit through community and connection. So how do you do this, right? We have the community, we have the connection. What does that do for our warrior spirit? Well, the warrior spirit is all about resilience, courage, relentlessness, and the pursuit of excellence. So when we look at our warrior spirit, these are some of the things that come to mind. And our inner drive that pushes us to overcome obstacles and achieve peak performance. So this is why we're talking about the warrior spirit. These are all components of it. However, maintaining this spirit requires continuous nurturing, and that's where the community and the connections come in, right? We need to be nurtured and have nature in our life too for the community and the connection. But if we're there alone and we start hitting these road bumps and there's nobody there, there's not the community, and then within the community there's not the connection, that warrior spirit is going to begin to fade. So here's how the community and connections can help, right? Emotional resilience. They can help us develop this emotional resilience that when we do have setbacks, they'll be there to help us, to encourage us, and we'll keep on keeping on. They'll also help us with motivational and inspiration. They'll cheer us on. They'll be our biggest fans. They'll point out why we are doing what we're doing to remind us to get back and start taking action towards our goals. And then together, there's a collective strength. I don't know if you've been in any like CrossFit classes or group fitness classes and stuff, but or even if you just go to a gym, even if it's not, the gym could be the community, you may not have deep connections, but it's so much different when you're around people in a gym than when you're working out at home. Yes, there are individuals who love to work out at home, but we're just talking generally here right now. So this collective strength, you can feel it when you go out, and that collective strength is going to help you keep that warrior spirit alive and strong. So why do we have this community, right, and the connection and the warrior spirit? Well, we want to talk about achieving peak performance, because we don't have to be an athlete to have performance. We could be a salesperson. We could just have our aspects in life, our goals in life, and we want to be a peak performance in relation to those goals. So let's talk about this achieving peak performance, right? It isn't just about physical prowess. It's also about mental and emotional strength. So peak performance involves physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness or spiritual, strength, all of these. we can tap into all of that, and that comes from that warrior spirit. And by building a supportive community and fostering deep connections, we create an environment conducive to growth and peak performance. It's the soil that's helping us grow, right? There's the soil, the connection, the community is the soil, the connection is the watering, and we are in this plant and we're growing, and that growth is part of peak performance. Some tips to leverage your community and connections for peak performance are: set collective goals. So set a goal yourself, but if you have a group of individuals that you're surrounding, bounce it off them. Maybe you're aiming too low. Maybe you're aiming too high. So set these collective goals, or even, have a workout buddy effectively. Have people there that are setting goals, and you all set goals together within the community. This way you can hold each other accountable and responsible for the actions. Regular check-ins, right? You have a community, you set goals. Maybe you don't see each other for a week. Well, you check in once a week. You do a quick check-in call. Hey, how are you doing? What progress are you making? And then the community and that connection can help provide feedback on those check-ins, just like you can provide feedback on those check-ins as well. And then celebrate together. Once a week, once a month, you look back and look at all your wins and you celebrate. It doesn't have to be like a New Year's Eve party, but it can be a celebrate, an acknowledgement, a high five, a pat on the back, a star in your journal, something you can celebrate together. Because I tell you, it's more fun to celebrate together than it is to celebrate alone. So warriors, remember this, really, no one fights alone. You can't find anybody out there who has accomplished anything worthwhile without a community and connection. And by building a supportive community and fostering deep connections, we nurture our warrior spirit and set ourselves on a path to peak performance. So embrace your community, cherish your connection, and let's continue to grow stronger together. Thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Warrior Mind Podcast. Stay strong, stay connected, and keep nurturing that warrior spirit. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight. If you want to see the show notes on this podcast, you can visit warriormindcoach.com. While you're over there, you can find other useful information in the form of blog posts and other podcasts, as well as finding out how to contact me for a breakthrough session. Since you'll be on the internet, please follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest under Warrior Mind Coach.